Hey guys, in this video we're going to learn how to factor a trinomial completely, where we can actually pull out a GCF, but when we do that, we still have a leading term that's not equal to 1, and we'll take a look at that right now. So this third part of example 1, we're going to factor 10a squared plus 4a minus 6. So we're looking at all three terms, and we always want to see what the greatest common factor is first. So we're going to make our little L, or our little box here. We're going to write all three terms into our L. And we have a 10a squared, comma 4a minus 6. So we're going to pull out one factor out if we can. So I'm looking at the 10, the 4, and the negative 6, and it looks like we can factor out, I don't know, 2. So when we factor out a 2, we're essentially dividing out 10 by 2, 4 by 2, and negative 6 by 2. And we're left with a 5a squared plus 2a minus 3. So looking at all three terms again, we can basically just factor out a 1 because not all three terms have an a, and you can't really divide 5, 2, and negative 3 out because they're all prime. So our greatest common factor is 1. Multiply those two red numbers out. Our greatest common factor is going to be 2. So going back to our original problem, we're going to rewrite that as 2 on the outside since we've factored it. And what's left over is going to be what we've written down in our bottom row here. So it's 5a squared plus 2a minus 3. So looking at all three terms, now we just factor out using our diamond. And the bottom diamond will be the product of a times 3. So our a is going to be 5, which is the coefficient of a squared. And our c is going to be our negative 3. So we multiply 5 times negative 3, we get negative 15. And the top diamond, we write our b term, which is going to be 2. So again, we think of two numbers that multiply together to get a negative 15, add together to get 2. I think it's going to be 5 and negative 3. If you multiply 5 times negative 3, you get negative 15. 5 plus negative 3, we get a positive 2, so that works. We're going to replace the 2a with the two purple numbers that we've written in the blank diamonds. So we have the 2 on the outside times 5a squared. Now, instead of 2a, we're going to write down plus 5a minus 3a minus 3, and we're going to group the first two terms together and the second two terms together. Now in the first group, we look at the greatest common factor between a 5a squared and a 5a, and it looks like we can actually factor out a common 5 as well as an a. So we're left with a 5a on the outside since that's what we're factoring out, and in the binomial we're left over with an a plus 1. And the second group looks like we can both factor out a 3, but since our leading term is negative, we're going to factor out a negative 3. So we're going to divide out the negative 3 from both terms, leaving us with an a plus 1, and then we close off the brackets. So again, we're going to group the first two products, and then in both groups together, we're looking at it as a whole, and it looks like they both have an a plus 1 common binomial factor. So we're going to rewrite the 2 on the outside, and we're going to pull out, or factor out, the a plus 1 from both groups. And we're left with, in the first group, just the 5a, which will go here, and then minus 3, which is right here. So then this is going to be completely factored since we don't have a common factor between a plus 1 and then 5a minus 3. There's nothing else you can factor out. And we still got that 2 that we factored out in the first step. And this would be completely factored and done.